The ScribbleClip explains the Bay of Pigs invasion. Cuba in the 50s was a tough place. A dictator named Batista ruled the country, making things hard for the people who lived there. He was a corrupt, violent ruler. In 1959, the Cuban people decided they had had enough of Batista. They staged a successful revolution against him, led by Fidel Castro. Castro and his friends were communists. They believed that it was the government's job to redistribute wealth, making a classless society where everyone has equal income. Based on these ideas, Castro began seizing private property around the island. This caused a lot of discomfort among middle and upper-class Cubans, so many of them left Cuba and moved to the United States. Over in the United States, the leaders of the country didn't like communism. The Cold War with Russia and its allies had America worried about the possibilities of nuclear war. And they felt communism was a threat to freedom. And a communist country just 90 miles from United States soil made a lot of Americans nervous. In 1961, President JFK and his administration came up with a plan to oust Fidel Castro. They teamed up with the CIA and the Cuban exiles living in United States and formed a plan. Their plan was to invade Cuba, start a counter-revolution, and depose Castro. The United States recruited 1,400 exiled Cubans and prepared for an invasion. They thought this would be an easy operation because they believed the sentiment in Cuba was overwhelmingly anti-Castro. Once the invasion was underway, the United States thought the Cuban people would join in the fight against Castro. The United States also planned to keep the invasion a secret and make sure it did not link back to the United States. So the United States disguised its military forces by using planes and boats that were unmarked or matched Cuban forces. Pre-attack operations launched from Nicaragua on April 15, 1961. These were aimed at weakening the Air Force in Cuba. The attacks were not successful and one United States plane was shot down. On April 16, the United States staged a decoy attack in a location away from the Bay of Pigs. The diversion used decoy boats projecting sounds over loudspeakers to make it seem like an attack was happening. This was successful in distracting Castro, but only temporarily. He was prepared for what would happen next. Early in the morning on April 17, the real invasion occurred at the Bay of Pigs. Despite the diversion, the attack didn't go well. The United States underestimated Castro's popularity in Cuba, and despite the United States' plan to keep the attack a secret, Castro was prepared. Over 100 invading exiles were killed in the attack, and over 1,000 were captured. Eventually, Castro made a deal with the United States to exchange the captured exiles for $58 million. The Bay of Pigs invasion was, and still is, considered a debacle. It was a huge blow to the Kennedy administration, and his popularity suffered. The invasion actually had the opposite of its intended effect. It strengthened Castro's hold on Cuba and his popularity with its people. Castro asked the Soviet Union for protection in case the United States tried another attack, which eventually led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Fidel Castro remained in power as president of Cuba until 2008, when he passed his reign on to his younger brother, Raul Castro. Join us at ScribbleClip.com.